Fala galera, eu sou o Cauê Paciorni, que está começando mais um Cauê Entrevista. Hoje um Cauê Entrevista diferente. Como vocês sabem, eu sou um cara que gosta muito de festival e hoje eu vou bater um papo com o Andy Piller, que é o CEO, o cara responsável pelo 70,000 Tons of Metal, que é o maior cruzeiro de heavy metal do mundo. So, hello Andy, how are you?
Hey.
Did you understand something that I said?
I understood it. Yes,
I
I also
knew that.
understood your little number mistake there.
Yeah.
You know. First of all, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much.
And it's always a pleasure, not just to be here with you,
Cool.
but to be in this beautiful country of Brazil.
Cool,
It's
cool.
always nice. People are so welcoming. The food is great. You know, like
Yeah.
I live in planes and hotels and sometimes on cruise ships, but I'm home where the heart is. Right now,
Nice.
I'm home in Brazil. You know.
Thank you so much for having me, for having time here. And first of all, I'd like to know about the history. How did you have that idea to do a cruise, to do a festival in a cruise with heavy metal?
Well, there is a longer answer and there is a shorter one.
So let's do the longer one.
The
so
longer
we have
one.
time here.
Okay, I give you a little background. So I started organizing concerts when I was really young, back in my home country in Switzerland. My parents were not so happy because I was still in school.
Yeah.
Then I started to organize concerts all over the country and went back to school to sleep, you know. So,
Yeah, I got you.
eventually I became more like a booking agent, booking shows in neighboring countries, to France, to Italy, to Austria, etc. Becoming a tour manager later in my career, touring all over the world, among that with some Canadian bands. So I worked with some bands from Vancouver, Canada, really fell in love with that city, got a vacation apartment there.
Did you have a band too? Did you play or did you just a manager?
No, I played the violin when I was a kid. Yes, but in my work I was always behind the stage.
Cool.
So, anyhow, being in Vancouver, having my vacation place there is cruises in the summer that go to Alaska. So that's now 18 years ago. I was sitting on my balcony with some of my friends, and one of these cruise ships pulled out, and we were drinking, like, not water, obviously. Most obviously, I had one drink too many, because I said, like, we should charter one of these cruise ships and put a heavy metal festival. Crazy, that's never gonna work, you know, people will fall overboard and so on. So next day, I remember this as if it would have been yesterday. I woke up, I had this huge headache, but this idea was still spinning in my mind. And I was like, man, this is so crazy, this may gonna work. It took me 3.5 years, not only to convince a cruise line that it's a good idea to have heavy metal festival on a cruise ship, but the biggest challenge was money, financing.
Yeah.
Chartering a cruise ship, it costs millions of dollars.
I can imagine.
And I come from a rich country, but I'm not a millionaire. So finding people that would be willing to invest into something like this, that everybody thinks it's crazy, nobody has done it before, there is no track record.
Yeah.
That was a really big challenge. And 3.5 years later, the first 70,000 tons of metal, now it's even bigger. Like, look where we are.
Cool.
The short answer, how did I come up with the idea? I was drunk.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And then you started in 2011, right?
That's right, that when the first 70,000 tons.
And why this name, 70,000 tons? No, I said correctly.
That's right.
So much numbers.
Don't make us smaller than we are. The first ship had a displacement. It was a 70,000 tons of metal class ship. 73,592, but that sounds like shit, you know. So call it 70,000 tons of metal. In the meantime, we are on a much bigger ship. It actually has a displacement of 154,000 tons. Wow. So it's more than the double. But you can't change the name, you know, like that logo that I drew myself, like 70,000 tons of metal. Now there is people that have that tattooed. There is actually girls that have it tattooed over their back, you know, so I can't change the name. You know?
That's great. And you have a community that you call them the sailors, right?
They're sailors, and once they have been, we call them survivors. Yes.
Cool. And you have any special relation with the ocean? You were an ocean guy?
Not really. I mean, before I was always just flying over the ocean. Now I'm sailing also on the ocean sometimes. It was just this crazy idea, seeing this ship, you know, maybe drinking too much. The very special relationship I have with people from all over the world. And this is what 70,000 tons of metal is. It's like a family. It's a community. community. We also call 70,000 tons of metal the United Nations of Heavy Metal at Sea.
Great.
This year, we actually set a new record. We had 81 different nations on board.
Wow.
And look, this is the one thing that makes me so proud. There is people from all over the globe, people coming from countries that are at a state of war with each other. But they come for the same reason, for the love of the music, on this one ship, and it's one peaceful party. So that's wouldn't we wish all that the whole world would be like this?
That's great.
Unfortunately, it isn't, but we can have to take it the way it is. We don't have to leave it as it is, so we can do our little piece, bringing people together, especially in this day of age. Intercultural understanding is so important.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from, what color your passport has, or what color your skin has, or what orientation you have in your life. We all have the same problems, we all have the same sorrows, but we also all have the same dreams. Therefore, we need to have intercultural understanding that does not happen on a video screen.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need to travel, bring people together, exchange ideas. And we have this special community. We have people, imagine this, there is people that came from not just different countries, different continents. They met on 70,000 tons of metal. They started a family, and now they come back as a family with their kids together on 70,000 tons.
That's amazing.
That's really, really special.
And you take care a lot in the lineup, because everybody's together in the cruise for the music. And not only the music, but the whole experience. So tell me now about the lineup. How do you do that? What's your biggest difficulty to do that?
What I always try is to create like an even balance between the different genres of heavy metal. So like having like from classic metal to power metal to thrash metal to death metal to black metal to folk metal and everything in between. Trying to create a little bit of a balance, but also having bands from all over the world. We had over the years many metal bands here from Brazil. We had Sepultura, we had Angra before, we had Nervosa, Crypta, but also bringing some small bands that have a real great talent, sometimes from exotic places, and presenting them to people from all over the world. So usually like people that come from Australia or from Japan or from South Africa, they don't really so easily get to see maybe a band that comes from Costa Rica, for example. So this is one of the aims too.
That's great. That's great. I saw some things that you have a kind of wish list. Is that true?
That is a wish. That is true. Every year I ask the survivors, like, what would you like to see next year? A wish list is and always will be a wish list. It's like before Christmas, you write a wish list to Santa Claus. Maybe what Santa Claus gets you afterwards is not exactly everything that is on the list. Sometimes, like bands are also not available. Maybe they are in the studio or they are toured in Europe or wherever, But I look at it and it's also, not only does it give me some ideas and I understand actually what my customers want, at the end, it's also for me to see how much of the wishes could I fulfill. So how good of a job did I actually do?
Cool. And can you tell me something that is on your wish list or the survivors wish list for the next year?
Oh my God, the wish list is really long. But if you look over the history of 70,000 tons of metal, we had a lot of the big names, not just Sepultura here from Brazil. I mean, we had bands like Anthrax and Sabaton and Nightwish and Emperor. So
Okay. You tell me that you were good with answers. You know how to handle with this.
Exactly.
I heard that before we started. Okay. And have you ever thought of doing a cruise starting from Brazil? Because I saw a lot of fans that came from Brazil for the cruise. Have you ever thought of starting here or something?
Yes, ideas have been there. Ideas and plans are still around. We actually had big plans before the pandemic. Then it's something that it seems so far away, but it's something that we are still kind of in a recovery mode. There are other projects, yes, There is many countries, many oceans. However, they will run under a different banner. 70,000 tons of metal is like an annual event. Our whole family comes together there. You don't want to rip this family apart.
Right.
So I have plans and projects for other cruises, yes. Yeah. But they will be called different, not 70,000 tons of metal.
Just another history.
Exactly.
And with all this time, do you have any funny history, something that happened on the backstage that you say, oh, that was a very funny history that I remember in the cruise?
There is a lot of funny stories, but like, once again, I can just repeat what I said before. This gratification, makes me so extremely proud to bring these people from all over the world. This year, 81 different nations on board the same ship. When I then stand in the evening on the side of the stage, especially our pool deck stage, which is the biggest open air stage structure that ever sailed the open seas. And I look into all these beautiful faces, they are all happy, coming from all over the globe. That gives me so much energy back, to keep on doing this. A personal memory of mine was maybe the first one. We always say, you will never forget the first one.
That crazy idea.
It was 3.5 years of hard work and sometimes tears and heartblood that went into it. And when it finally happened, I'm so busy on the ship. So I look outside in 2011 and suddenly the skyline of Miami started moving. And I was like, oh my God, it's really happening, So
we do that.
In this moment, I had to cry. Look, and I still have goosebumps now thinking about it.
Awesome.
That is really, really special.
That's pretty cool, man. I can imagine that. And I have to tell you, because I grew up in Santos. I was telling this before.
Yeah, this is the cruise port here,
Yes, that's what I have to say. Santos is known as the biggest harbor in Latin America. Yeah. So if you have something, you have to do in Santos. Okay.
I know there is actually cruises that go from here too.
Yeah.
It's always also about ship availability. Sometimes I realize also, especially for 70,000 tons of metal, that we are in some instances a victim of our own success, because now we need such a big ship that you don't always have everywhere. So it doesn't make it easy. But
I can imagine.
Yeah, Santos is definitely on the map.
Yeah. Okay. You are convincing me.
You have to look. There is one thing that you have to experience yourself. Something that makes 70,000 tons of metal so special is there is no VIP areas. There is no backstage areas. Sometimes people ask me why so many bands. I wanted to create an atmosphere that everybody feels like backstage. So for every musician, there is only 10 fans. So it's like everybody is a VIP. And we celebrate this already when people arrive at the port. Everyone, it doesn't matter if the musician in the biggest band or the sailor in the cheapest interior cabin on deck 2. Everyone goes through the same door, through the same security, through the same check-in. And when people walk over this gangway, something happens in their subconscious. And then they realize, in the true sense of the meaning, we're all in the same boat.
Cool.
And this mutual respect develops between artists and the fans. And like, this is why the musicians, they can roam around freely. When you go to a normal concert or a festival, you may wait for hours at the backstage entrance. With a lot of luck, you get 5 seconds with your favorite star for an autograph or for a selfie. On 70,000 tons of metal, everyone is there for 5 days, 4 nights. They cannot leave. So it's such a fan-friendly scenario, and the bands, they go together with the fans, eat at the same restaurants, drink at the same bars.
Be on the hot tub.
Be in the hot tub together. You hear these stories afterwards that people with one of the musicians of their favorite band, they sit together in the jacuzzi and watch Sepultura play. Nice. Where else can you get that? Only on 70,000 tons of metal.
You're convincing me. What do you prefer, doing a land festival or a cruise festival?
Being out on the ocean, you don't see any land, and you have this whole family and this peaceful party with people from around the globe together. It's something really, really, really unique. that you don't get on land
I
usually.
can imagine, because you're creating your own continent.
Yeah.
And traveling, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a vlog next year.
Yeah, you have to do that. You know, like it would be a pleasure.
Yeah,
you know, like maybe you grow your hair long. You know,
I want to become a survivor.
You will. Everybody that has been officially, we call them survivors because you have survived 70,000 tons of metal.
And for the finish, one thing that I always ask is if you have to choose one song to listen every day for the rest of your life, what kind of soundtrack of your life, which one would you choose? Just one.
I always say I don't have a favorite song. I don't have a favorite band. It's like on 70,000 tons of metal. There is so much variety. So it is hard. I would almost say it is unfair to pick out one. But I could tell you a little story out of my childhood. I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than I am. He's very much the reason I got into heavy metal. Mm-hmm. I was a little kid. He came back from school, like every week he brings back a new album. And he likes to play games with his little brother. So he put the headphones on my head and I had to listen to the whole album and grade every song, give school grades to every song. And I remember this, since you want to hear, it's not necessarily my favorite album, but it's a very, very special memory. I was a little kid, my brother comes with his bicycle and I was playing ball outside the house and so. And he takes the Scorpions album Blackout out of his backpack, you know, with Rudolf Schenker, you know, like with the forks in his eyes. And he takes out, hey, this is metal, this is cool, let's go upstairs and listen to it. Nice. You know? So that's a very special memory.
Great answer. You said that it's difficult to choose just one song, but if you could live forever in the cruise, would you do that?
If I would have to live forever on the cruise, I hope there would be more than just one song.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
You got me. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very
much.
It's a pleasure. No, the pleasure is all mine.
Cool, man.
I'm really, really grateful that you have me on your show.
Yeah, it's really good to know a little about the history.
Always feel so welcome here in Brazil.
Yeah.
Hope next year, when we sail on the 29th of January out of Miami, they call it the cruise capital of the world.
Wow.
No offense against Staples, you know.
Don't worry about that.
So it would be my humble pleasure to welcome even more of you beautiful people from Brazil on board 70,000 tons of metal.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
See you guys.